I know.
Me too. All right, good evening, everyone. Going to call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission for the City of Howell at 6:01 p.m. There is a quorum present. Got 3 items on the agenda tonight. First one is to discuss, consider, and act upon the approval of the minutes of the meeting from the January 21st, 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion?
I have a motion, we accept the minutes.
Motion for Ed to accept.
I'll second.
Second, Cassie, all in favor? Okay. All right, item number 2, discuss, consider, and act upon ordinance number 834 for the annexation and adoption of a service plan. So ordinance 834 is an ordinance annexing the hereinafter described territory to the city of Howell, Grayson County, Texas, and extending the boundary limits of said city so as to include said hereinafter described property within said city limits, and granting to all the inhabitants of said property all the rights and privileges of other citizens, and binding said inhabitants by all of the acts, ordinance, resolutions, and regulations of said city, and adopting a service plan providing for severability and providing an effective date. And we, let's see, it's in the Hanning edition, plus or minus 10.8 acres on 2703 Highway 5, Howell, Texas. Also fronts Old Patterson Road. Mr. Monty.
Honorable P&Z members, this annexation's been in the works for quite some time. Mr. Mondragon approached us many months ago. There were some situations with the platting, but we were able to finally work through it. This location is on Old Patterson Road and Highway 5, little strip, and you may notice the house there. There's a stone gate, I think, entering Highway 5. He also has properties on each side of that he wants to bring into the city, and so that's what this is for. Brings in both of those lots in with his house, which was previously annexed. There's one difference in the packet that you got on the ordinance. We changed the legal name. It has Jose Luis Mondragon. He legally changed his name to Luis Mondragon, so I just removed that. The only other change is the other owner had Granados, I believe, as the name. Remove that. Everything else is the same. Again, this is something that we'll zone later, probably next month. We'll look at zoning it because he's bringing in some commercial business to those areas. So I would recommend approval on this item.
Sure.
And I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Do we have a motion on the ordinance?
I'll make a motion, we accept the ordinance.
Okay.
To annex.
To annex, okay.
I second.
Second, all right, all in favor? All right. Last item, discuss, consider, and act upon final plat for Grace Meadows.
This has been in the works for quite some time also. Mr. Nunez, I believe, is here. We've talked about this before. This is 51 half-acre lots out on Ponderosa Road. Final plat will allow them to start getting to work and start building homes. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? No? Good. Okay. All right. Do we have a motion for Grace Meadows?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Have a second?
A second.
Seconds, all in favor? Okay. That's the last item on the agenda, so we'll adjourn the meeting at 6:05 p.m.
See you later. He's got a daughter playing basketball.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
You can still get there for the second half.
No, I think last one started at 6.
No. and I forgot how little the screen is. Right. Please raise it up. There you go.
That was loud. Good evening. There being a quorum present, this regular session of the Howell City Council is hereby called to order on Tuesday, May 20, 2025 at 6:08 p.m. under the Open Meetings Act of the State of Texas. If you would, and we do have a quorum present, so if you would, please remove your hats and silence your cell phones.
Ms.
And-
Mayor, I don't want to throw you off course, but to allow him to do everything with us, could you swear him in first? Or would it throw you off too much?
Well, we can do that,
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't mean to throw a hitch
Sure.
in your get along,
absolutely.
but that way he can do everything with us.
Absolutely. So today, I'm going to swear in Chad Woods as our fifth council member. And so we can certainly move that up unless anyone has any objections. Chad, you good with that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We're going to do it over here. You can come over here if you want, because I bet you she's going to take a picture of you. So first of all, I need you to read this and sign that if you agree. And now, is it easier for you to be on this side or that side?
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay. Let's make room for, there we go. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. In the name and by the authority of
In the name and by the authority of
the state of
the
Texas,
state of Texas,
I, David Chad Woods,
I, David Chad Woods,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the city council member
the duties of the city council member
of the city of Howell,
of the city of Howell,
state of Texas,
state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and the laws
and the laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Councilman. Stay right here. Go ahead and set it right there. Does anyone need pictures? Did everybody get pictures?
Just so everybody understands, by him taking the oath, that immediately dissolves his membership to the PNC.
There you go. Thank you, ma'am. We're gonna let you sit here. All right. Thank you, Billy, for that suggestion. All right, now, let's remove our hats and silence our cell phones, please, as we stand for the invocation and for our pledges. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for all of our many blessings. And we ask that you put a hedge of protection over each and every one of us, our community, and our schools, and our council. We ask that you give us wisdom and discernment as we continue to make decisions for the city. It's all in your precious holy name, I pray. Amen. Now for pledges. The American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, and please be seated. The City Council invites citizens to speak to the council on topics not already scheduled for public hearing or on the agenda. Citizens may address the council for a maximum of 2 minutes. The council is unable to respond to or discuss any issues that are brought up during this section that are not on the agenda, or other than to make a statement of specific factual information in response to a citizen's inquiry, or to recite existing policy in response to the inquiry. I did not receive any citizen comments. Does anyone have anything for me? Okay, we'll move on. All right. We're going to move on to our mayor comments. So we have How Hump Day Breakfast, Networking Breakfast, Wednesday, June 4, 2025, from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. here in Summit Gardens. I'm going to now move down to our Mayor Bragg moments, because I'm going to come back to the recognition here in a minute. I would like to brag on the Howell Area Chamber of Commerce board members. On April 29, 2025, the first Howell Business Summit was successfully held with approximately 150 individuals in attendance. Later that same week, we had a successful Howell Hall of Honor on Friday, May 2nd, and then on Saturday, May 3rd, the 39th Annual Founders Day Festival. The Chamber is also responsible for the monthly Howell Hump Day Breakfast. All these events and many more are successful and only possible because of the Howell Area Chamber of Commerce board members. I appreciate all of you and your hard work. Much of the work that you do is behind the scenes. So we do have Bragg Awards. I don't know if we have any that are here. I know we have one member here. So, but if you are here, actually, please come up front. Brandon Grooms, Amy Gibbs, she's out sick, I know. Brandon McKinney is here. Come on up so y'all can introduce your hair. Brandon McKinney, Casey Davis, Robert Zembro, Jared Coffey, Tom Grange, and Monty Walker. Our binders, honey. I know I printed it.
I'll get it.
Oops, I'm sorry. I have it right here. Sorry. I'm kind of stalling because I'm going to recognize the officer who just.
He'll be back.
Okay. Would you look through there and see if that's in the policies in there? Please. Keep the first one I printed.
I'll just take Brandon's.
Here. You get everybody else's. Council, do you want to stand and?
I don't know, it's a lot of work.
Come up front if you want.
Nah, we'll just stand. Just slide over. Yeah, just slide. I'll let you get the gap. I'll stand there.
Thank you. Let's give them a hand. I'll find it probably as soon as I sit down. Okay,
He's coming back in.
okay, good. Here it is, Monty. I told you I'd find it. Sorry about that. You're welcome. All right. Officer Wallingford is one of our night officers. Chief Sullivan reported to me that he received an expression of gratitude regarding Officer Wallingford in a notification from Chief Whitworth of the Howe ISD Police Department. Chief Whitworth stated, on May 12, 2025, Officer Wallingford observed a vehicle parked behind the Summit Hill Elementary building and believed someone may have possibly been inside the building. Rather than just ignoring this as the school's problem, he chose to contact my agency and passed along the information regarding the vehicle's description and registered owner. I was able to contact the officer assigned to that campus, and he quickly was able to determine the vehicle belonged to one of our teachers who was authorized to be in the building. I wanted to pass along my gratitude for Officer Wallingford for his attentiveness, willingness to take that extra step to make certain that everything was fine. This type of cooperation between the agencies has not always been the case, and it is refreshing to see this change. I'd like to say that we greatly appreciate Chief Whitworth's kind words and acknowledgement regarding Officer Wallingford. Steve Jobs said, "Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower." The Howe Police Department continues the transition of change and is moving forward in a positive direction. The level of commitment the police personnel have for our community and collaboration with other agencies was demonstrated by Officer Wallingford when he took the initiative to be a leader, and he made a choice to do the right thing by reaching out and notifying the other agency. Officer Wallingford has behaved in a manner that demonstrates a level of commitment that reflects positive change and leadership. The City of Howe is very fortunate to have officers such as Wallingford, who cares about our citizens and others within our community. Officer Wallingford, your effort describes what true public servants exemplify: a team ready to assist at any time, in any way possible. Thank you for your service and for exemplifying the values of the City of Howe. And now I'm going to ask that he come up and receive a certificate of recognition, and also he has a letter of recognition. And if you will, let's give Officer Wallingford a hand. Placed in your official. You're welcome. Council, would y'all have a moment? You're welcome to. Thank you. Let me find where I'm at. As the presiding officer of the body, I received and accepted the resignation of Councilwoman Sarah Myrick to be effective tomorrow, May 21, 2025. The council will give its formal approval at our next city council meeting. Ms. Myrick, I appreciate your service to this community and wish you well on your next adventure.
Thank you.
Let's give her a hand. Anything that you would like to say?
Yeah, I would like to say that this is bittersweet, but my family will be moving outside city limits, so we didn't have a choice. I'll no longer meet the residential requirement. But I have loved this community since the day I moved in 8 years ago, and that won't change. I'll still be at football games, still eating lunch at Abby's, still be around. Probably one of the proudest accomplishments in my life, and that's saying a lot because I've done a lot of things, but watching how lay the foundation for where we're going in the future has been a true privilege, and I thank everyone who voted for me and sent me encouraging notes on some of the hardest days to keep going. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Myrick. A proclamation of the City of Howe, Texas, recognizing May as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month. Whereas the month of May is designated to Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month, and whereas motorcycle riding offers a unique and enjoyable experience, but it also presents unique safety challenges, and whereas the safety of all road users, including motorcyclists, is a shared responsibility, and whereas the City of Howe recognizes the efforts of motorcycle riders, law enforcement, and safety organizations to promote safe riding practices. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that May 2025 be designated as Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month in the City of Howe. Be it further proclaimed that all citizens of Howe are encouraged to be extra vigilant and attentive while driving, especially when approaching or passing motorcycles, obey all traffic laws and regulations, maintain a safe following distance behind motorcycles, check blind spots frequently, be aware that motorcycles are smaller and may require more space to maneuver, support local motorcycle safety initiatives and organizations. In witness whereof, I, Carla McDonald, Mayor of the City of Howe, do hereby affix my signature to this proclamation on the 20th day of May 2025. Here it is, and I shall sign. All right. Moving, and thank you, Mr. Ingram, for calling that to my attention. It was actually Mr. Ingram who requested this proclamation. Moving on to our consent items. These items consist of non-controversial or housekeeping items required by law. Items may be considered individual by any council member making such request prior to a motion and vote on the consent items. 1, discuss, consider, and act upon consent items which are marked by an asterisk. These items include minutes of the regular city council meeting, April 15, 2025. Minutes of the special council meeting, April 23, 2025. Minutes of the special city council meeting, April 28, 2025. Bills being paid for the month, detailed check register report, statement of revenue and expenditures, independent financial, secured deposits, April 30, 2025. Recap and standings, April 2025. Does the council wish to discuss any of these items? And if not, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Sarah's going to make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Billy is making a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None are opposed. Motion passes. Discussion items. Presentation from 360 Broadband.
Mayor McDonald, council members, thank you for having me tonight. My name is Dustin Reed. I'm the Vice President of Business Development for 360 Broadband. We are a company based out of Durant, Oklahoma and Leonard, Texas. Some of you may formerly know 903 Broadband in Leonard. We merged to create 360 Broadband. A few weeks ago, came down and spoke with Monty about possibly looking at bringing fiber to the community of Howe. We have recently won a grant through the Texas Broadband Development Office. We were awarded Fannin County, and we thought with our operations being so central to you guys that we'd like to become a partner and seek to build fiber throughout the community. With that being said, we're an experience-based fiber provider. We focus on the residents, and we're not asking the city for anything. We truly look at this as a partnership for us to come in here and give your residents a reliable internet service and help you guys grow your business base and provide them with some good services.
So you would just need, like, if the council to consider that at some point, and then
Yes.
you would need to have an approval, I'm guessing?
Yes,
Okay.
and Bonnie, we've talked about
If-
probably a franchise agreement for the city. I think you guys
Okay.
have those with some of your
So if
providers.
the council should decide to move
Yes.
forward with that, okay.
Yep. And, just some background on us, we've done multiple municipalities throughout Oklahoma and Texas. We can provide letters of recommendation. Like I said, we were vetted by the Texas Broadband Development Office. Took 90 days, but we got through it. It was a very tough thing to go through. We have the financial capability to come in, and again, we're not asking the city council for any money. We just want to be a partner and help you guys grow as we grow.
Okay. Does council have any questions or comments?
Do you know who our primary provider is right now?
You have a couple. We actually serve you guys with fixed wireless. I think Frontier may be here on the west side of town. I'm not sure, but I know they have a fiber line on the west side. But we do serve some of the residents currently with fixed wireless.
I don't think we have fiber on this side.
You do not. You do not.
So we have fiber on the other side, is what
Yeah.
you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we focus on communities this size. Most of our areas that we do have fiber are around this size. Our smallest one is probably Honey Grove. And so we're very comfortable with the rural setting, and whenever we do come in, it's me knocking the door. It's me that your residents will see when we're getting them service, and we have a local support team. We don't have a call center in another state. It's either they're going to get an agent out of Durant or Leonard. So, and all of our techs that would serve this area would come out of both of those locations as well.
Okay.
So,
Well, thank you very much, sir. We
absolutely.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Discussion item number 2, departmental reports. First is the Howell Police Department.
Good evening.
And Chief Sullivan is at Chief School right now. So we have Lieutenant Sparks stepping in.
Chief Sullivan sends his apologies for not being able to make it. He is attending mandatory chief school. The month of April has been very busy for us as from an agency's perspective. We hired a new officer. He's in the building. His name is Terry McFadden. Officer McFadden comes to us from the Lamar County and the Paris ISD Police. Officer McFadden has a degree in 23 years of experience. He was originally set to start in April, but we had a little backstep. He was unfortunately injured and delayed his start. His actual start date was May the 19th. So this is Officer McFadden. Training for the month of April. The Howell Police Department completed 14 in-service training hours. This is a decrease from the previous months. All of our guys got their onboarding training done, so you're going to see those training hours continue to go down. As summer rolls around, we've seen an uptick in calls for service, as well as the 75 construction project, which is going to bring its own challenges. The Howell Police Department responded to 165 calls for service. We issued 103 citations and 116 warnings for the month of April. The calls for service do not include traffic stops or officer-initiated activity, such as business checks or building checks, or what incidents the officers initiated on their own. This is sole calls for service sent from Grayson County Dispatch to the Howell Police Department. The call volume is a 16% increase from April of 2024. Community engagement, the Howell Police Department had its first Citizen Police Academy graduate on Thursday, May 15th. Additionally, all police personnel participated in the Founders Day, and I was able to use the drone and take some pretty awesome videos and photos. This summer, we will have our first business crime prevention meeting and residence crime prevention meeting. The Law Enforcement Support Office. The Howell Police Department is part of the Law Enforcement Support Office. That's a division of the Texas Department of Public Safety. The division controls all military surplus equipment for the state of Texas, and equipment is awarded to departments for free with certain rules that apply. With selected pieces of equipment inventoried once per year and must be accounted for during the audit. The audit is sent to Texas DPS, and once every 3 years, DPS picks random agencies to conduct on-site audits. The controlled items are armored vehicles, robots, firearms. They never come out of inventory. Current department assets, we just obtained a Department of Defense shredder valued at approximately $12,000 for free, minus travel expenses, and we have already put it to good use. Crime prevention technology, flock camera system. The flock camera system is still a work in progress, and as we've received all approvals from TxDOT and DPS, it's all time consuming, so we're still working on those. We hope to have the system deployed within the next 90 days.
Well, I just want to give an official welcome to Hal, Officer McFadden. Does council have any questions for Lieutenant Sparks or comments? Thank you, sir. Next is the Hal Fire Department. Chief Monet.
Mayor, Council, good evening. In the month of April, Hal Fire Rescue ran a total of 67 calls for service involving fire calls. We had a couple of MVAs. We did have a grass fire and multiple EMS calls. We've been busy preparing for our upcoming classes. We've got a couple guys going to a specialized agricultural rescue class in July down at College Station that they'll bring back and help teach the rest of the department future skills and tactics for any kind of incident like that. We're making changes to our policies and procedures, and we are advancing our trainings here at Hal Fire. We did that with the Hal EMS side of it last month. This month, we've been working on the fire side of the policies and procedures. We had our TCFP audit. It went well. We had a few paperwork violations because this was our very first one, so they've already been cleaned up and fixed and turned in, and we are good to go with our TCFP inspection for the next 2 years. Excuse me. We have sent 2 more of our EMS personnel to Fire Academy. They started last week, so they are working on getting cross-trained. We're working on sending all the EMS to Fire Academy to have them all cross-trained in both fire and EMS. So we've got 2 that's just started, then we'll have 2 that start next month, and that'll be all of them in Fire Academy. We are set to finish about October with everybody being done around the October timeline. Our certification classes are still underway. We've got a couple in Instructor 1, and we've got some going to the Ag Rescue, and we've got some in officer training right now as we speak. We are working on a new thing with the PD. We are actually putting together a tactical medical program. We're sending a couple of our paramedics to basic SWAT school and tactical paramedicine. That way we're able to, if we ever have that incident, we will have paramedics that are ballistic vests, tactical helmets, all the stuff they need to be able to go in with the police and help in any of those emergencies, if ever need be. Please be aware of the weather changing. As we know, with the tornadoes and the heat and the rain, things change very much, and we do not have a burn ban at this time. And I want to say thank you for the support, and I look forward to doing more.
Does the council have any questions or comments for
Did you
Chief
get my
Monet?
email from earlier?
Yes, sir, I did.
I don't get very good service in that gym over there, so I wasn't sure if it went through.
Yes, sir, I sure did. And I have talked to the crews, and they...
So I was sitting at the high school spring volleyball games 2 weeks ago. I was not wearing a bit of Hal gear, not one. And there are schools from all over the area. How this person knew I was from Hal, I'm not real sure. Walked up to me and said, "Hey, I would like to commend your fire department." What did he say? And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, my mom fell and broke her hip. I think it was broke her hip, broke her leg, and Hal was the one that responded." And then they went on to commend his paramedics and the fire crew for their professionalism and their job knowledge and the way they handled the situation, not only in assessing her injuries, but apparently she was obviously frantic because she didn't know what all was going on, was in an immense amount of pain, and they were able to calm her down and, you know, reassure that everything was going to be okay, and he just wanted them commended for the way that they handled his mother. So I sent him an email explaining such. I just wasn't sure if you got it.
Yes, sir, I got it.
Fantastic news. We've got a great team.
Any questions?
Anyone else? Questions or comments? Thank you, sir.
I got a real
Excuse
quick
me.
question.
Yes,
Just,
ma'am. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the tornadoes
Uh-huh.
that has been occurring in our area and across the nation over the last couple months. I just want to know, and this might be more directed to Monty, about our warning systems.
Okay.
I've seen that we have the actual horns, but are they operational?
Yeah, well,
Right.
yeah, we'll let him address that.
All right, I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, sir. Monty, do you want me to wait on Public Works and let? That's fine. Or did you want to go next? You're going to do it back to back, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Well, you can go ahead and give the Public Works.
Okay.
Sorry.
Mayor, council, as far as, let me address this first, on the sirens. So it's kind of a hot topic every year, this time of year. I have my personal opinions on sirens. When we can, you know, in 2025, we have the ability to bring, you know, detailed news to your phone immediately through Code Red. It's a benefit to the citizens. There's not a charge to the citizens for that. I think it's the most effective way in 2025. I understand that traditionally storm sirens have been the way to go. And if the council wants to move in that direction, we will certainly look at that. I will say that when storm sirens go off, the first thing people do is they run outside and they see what's going on. And that's probably not the safest thing for citizens to do in that situation. With that being said, if you guys want to start looking at ways we can fund storm sirens, we can certainly do that. I do like the effective situation that we have right now with Code Red. But again,
And sometimes they have to have, like, practice.
the testing
Thank you.
is considerable, and if we do have storm sirens, there are people that do work third shift, and they will be very upset when we do test those. That's part of it when you have that. It's just,
We have another small city in our area, I'll just say, that I'd spoken to the mayor about it, and they had said that one of the problems, though, that they have is because people think there's a tornado when they're doing the warning or the testing. And so they're not always, they forget that it's a certain time of the month.
Yeah.
But I'm open to anything that the council wants to do. If you want to look at it, that's
there is a
certainly-
significant expense to that system.
it's something
And there's
we
not
can
an
think
expense to
about.
Code Red.
Yeah, I was looking up, I saw the discussion online, and the initial cost of the sirens is anywhere from 20 to 30,000.
I think the
and
last quote was
maintenance is
34.
10 plus a year. Code Red doesn't cost us anything.
Yeah. And again, it's more direct, it gives more detailed information, and it doesn't typically send people out their front door to look and see what's going on. Any more? That
Not at
answer your
all.
question? Okay.
Yes, it did.
Moving on to Public Works. They carried out 136 service orders, 7 new meters were set, 8 meter leaks were repaired, pothole patching with all the rain, and I can't believe you said there's not a burn ban, because it's rained every day for about 3 months. But they've used 10 tons of product for pothole patching, so they've been, I know there's a lot of potholes out there, but they have been working at that. 4 water main leaks were repaired, 13 disconnections for move-outs. They spent 24 hours mowing, and 15 sewer main backups. Spent 142 hours on wells, sampling, reporting, maintenance, and repairs. You may recall that we had, the very night that we signed a contract with BVRT, and speaking of adrenaline, I went home and, we just solved a 40-year-old problem, and I was pretty juiced about that. And then I get a call from Jerry, who says, not only well 4 is down, but well 3 is down. So it's like spiking the football, and it came back up and hit me right in the face. But luckily, we were able to manage that, and I say we, Jerry and the crew were able to manage that sufficiently, and no citizens were without water during that period of time. It was a lightning strike on well 3, but it is now again producing 500 gallons a minute. Well 4 has been placed back into service. That needed a well screen cleaning, and it is producing 180 gallons a minute currently. We've ordered parts for well 2 for it to be repaired so it can begin producing again, and that will be very soon. Right now, the east side of Howe is running fully off of GTUA water and has been for quite some time. So we're anxious to get well 2 up and running when those new probes get in. And the new probes, I have to thank Jerry again, the probes that he's ordered will now be able to communicate well 2 to well 3 to well 4, whereas we had an antiquated system that didn't allow our wells to speak to each other. So this will be a good situation for us going forward, and we can use more of our well water and not rely so heavily on GTUA water and have to pay for that. With that being said, we're about to reroute our GTUA under 75 on that expansion. That will be opening up June the 10th. We wanted to wait till after school was out, so that time has come. It's on the website. It was posted today for citizens to be notified that we will be sending our surface water on the west side starting June the 10th. So I want everybody to be aware of that. I don't anticipate there being the same situation we had on the east side. Jerry says that he doesn't expect us to have the same situation. The lines over there are not as old as the ones on the east side, so we're all praying and crossing our fingers that it's more smooth on that. But we want to give the citizens ample amount of time to prepare for that. We had a major sewer repair. It was an emergency sewer line that took place on the south side of Hughes Street, on South Hughes Street near Ferguson Field. It had been backed up for quite a while. The restrooms had been out of use. We put porta potties over there for baseball games until this thing just got to a point where it had to be repaired. So contractors were over there, and it was a collapsed section of 6-inch sewer line, and it caused customers to be unable to flush their toilets, but that was repaired, and so we're in good shape there. And that is all for Public Works.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It says that they did mowing for 24 hours. Do we no longer have a mowing service?
We do, but the mowing service is for certain areas, such
Okay.
as the baseball fields, the PD, and things like that. We still are responsible for the railroad tracks and some other areas in town, alleyways and things like that.
So it was just things that were not covered by that mowing
Right.
service? Okay.
Right.
Thank you. Any council member have any questions or comments for Mr. Walker?
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hewitt, City Secretary.
Mayor, council members, Our court conversion is still in process. We're estimating the completion date is by the end of this month of May. Our permit conversion will then begin shortly thereafter. We're also beginning our public works service order program, which is in FundView as well, and that's scheduled to go live June 1st, and that way both our utility department and our public works department will be able to communicate via this service order system in FundView. I'm in the process of setting up the portal access and training for the department, for the Public Works Department. I'm happy to report that I've been working on an employee portal. This is a new and a first for the City of Howell. This employee portal will allow employees to submit their time cards electronically. No more paper for me. Their department heads can also review and approve them electronically, and then their time cards will automatically come into the payroll system, which I will then handle. It's something very seamless, streamlined, and it's going to be able to accommodate the growth that we're expecting here in the city. Employees are also going to be able to access their time cards, benefit information, tax forms, any letter of recommendations, employee performance reviews can all be uploaded there, and they'll have access to it online. Training on that portal is in process and should be used going forward starting the June payroll. Transition to the new medical coverage has begun, and the start date is actually June 1st. We've completed all of our open enrollment documentation. We've had an overwhelming amount of response from the employees, happy that they're going to be reducing their premiums on their medical coverage, and the coverage is a lot better, and it's actually saving the city money as well. We've also hired a new permit clerk. Cynthia Sines comes from the city of Sherman, and she has extensive experience in permits and utilities. She will be Ms. Roberts' backup when Ms. Roberts is on vacation, and will be cross-trained in all departments as well. We're excited to have her come on board and join our team. The training on the court conversion is now complete. All that are involved with the court system being myself and Amy. Amy will now be working full-time on the municipal court side once Cynthia is up to speed on the permit side. One thing that's dear to my heart is children. I've had the opportunity to read to children in Spanish for the We Readers program at the library. It's been rewarding, and I've enjoyed doing this, and I'm anticipating doing this through the end of the summer. Any questions?
Love it. Council, anybody have any questions? Or Thank you.
The time card system.
I'm sorry?
The time card system.
Yes, sir.
Do they punch in and out electronically, or do they still manually enter their times?
No, they can manually enter their times. But the supervisor will ultimately have to review it, and then I will review the supervisors and make sure that everything is correct.
Wonderful.
Anything else?
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Mr. Walker, City Administrator.
Mayor, Council, before I start, I really want to, I don't think we can get out of a council meeting without recognizing the loss of Joe Shepard recently. Joe was he was like a father figure to me for a number of years, and I really I'm sad for the family, and I just wanted to point out that Joe will be missed. Also, speaking of Joe, a number of years ago, I got a phone call from him in my office, and he said, "Monty, there's some banker lady who wants to get involved in the city of Howell. I'm going to send her to you." And that banker lady was Sarah, and she ended up on our Chamber of Commerce board, and then eventually on the city council. And as I mentioned in the email yesterday, I think you've been a stable voice for the citizens of Howell, and I appreciate that. So moving on, active projects, Noble Ridge Phase 1A, 171 homes. Connections Park still underway. Noble Ridge 1B, 177 homes. Ponderosa Point, commercial contracts have been signed, which we mentioned at the Howell Business Summit, the 7-Eleven and the Taco Bell north of the Howell High School. We're looking at a rezone of the PD for added commercial. They were very open about an anchor for a grocer on that property. So we're excited about that. The NRP Group is under construction on the multifamily project on that same property, 300 units. Saddleback has sold one of the or multiple lots to local builder Kent Akins, who has the first house is underway on Bandera Drive. Grace Meadows, 51 half-acre lots, preparing the final plat later on in this meeting. Hilltop Ranch, 1,376 homes, and we're working on some PD adjustments, which is a good time to point out Tim, who does a remarkable job for us, our engineer. He and James Tidwell and the mayor are on our internal team. Howe Meadows, that is a mud that's been formed over on Smith Road and Farmington, a little stretch over there, 762 homes. Talbot Estates, 65 half-acre lots, working on annexation documents. This will start coming pretty quickly. We're going to have to run a water line through Central Park and loop it around. And that got us to talking about another piece of land that we had talked to back in maybe December. We were first referring them to as a 190 group. Now I think they've changed to Enlow 9698, something like that. And so that will consist of 844 lots. Now we visited with them because we're running a water line and looping it back around to Enlow Road. And we thought, it'd be a good time to touch base, see if they want to jumpstart that project, since we're running a water line, and now we're talking about annexation if we're running a water line through that property. Centurion American, 669 homes, as they purchase Phase 2 and 3 of Noble Ridge, as well as other lots across Smith Road. Future developments, we visited with a group that's purchasing approximately 100 acres on the northeast corner of Bennett and 902, and that is earmarked for approximately 100 acre lot homes. We've also received a concept plan from Astra Development, which is south of Howe High School, connecting basically Howe High School to Lane Drive. So that's another large development. 365 lots in that one. And then good news on the 81 acres over here. We've been talking about this. It's in our ETJ, but not annexed. Therefore, we couldn't do any zoning. We couldn't have any say-so in what they were doing on Hall Cemetery Road and Boast Road at that corner. You've seen some dirt moving. A lot of people asking questions. When these guys first approached me, the first thing they asked about was a location for a concrete batch plant, and that is their history to do those things. They've got several in Gunner. So I immediately kind of closed up. Actually, I tried to find them a great location because we're talking with BVRT and we have the reuse water. So I was trying to get them close to 902 and that area, and maybe even partner with those guys. But they had purchased this 81 acres before we could even get to that point. So with that being said, when another developer was in talking with me, I was looking at one of our old zoning maps, and I happened to notice that the 81 acres at Boast and Hall Cemetery had been annexed in 1965, or at least a portion of it. So I sent an email to these guys letting them know that, sorry, that portion of land is annexed and we're going to have some talks. And we visited with them, and we're going to work a pre-annexation agreement, it appears, on the remaining portion of that. They will put in the deed records that it cannot be used for concrete batch plant. So I think we've got about as good a win as we can get on that property that we had no control over just a few months ago, or a month ago. Code enforcement, as the grass begins to grow, Bert has been busier overseeing that issue, as well as general issues that come up. West O'Connell, East Tutt have begun the rebuild process on our street project. Public Works, again, patching potholes. They've done a great job with that. Personnel, this has been mentioned. Chief Sullivan hired Officer McFadden, and happy to have him on board. Cynthia Sines, mentioned by Michelle. Now, this is a big time hire. She's their top dog permit person at the city of Sherman. And so we were able to, she wants to be in a small town. She's from a small town. She doesn't like how big Sherman's getting, so it was kind of a good fit for us. We got lucky because she handles a lot of things for the city of Sherman, and we're happy for her to come on board. She'll be here June the 2nd to start. So she's also bilingual, which is good. Wastewater, all I can say is yay. That's a huge accomplishment, thanks to the BVRT guys. Water, we continue to build our aging battle our aging infrastructure. We did get clearance on the $2 million from Noble Ridge earlier. We were able to get all of that passed, as you know, last meeting. So we can use that $2 million on other infrastructure needs. But of course, we've got our eye set on a 1 million gallon elevated storage tank. That is the goal. Sales tax, it was a pretty good month. Of course, this is combined over 3 periods. $70,485.59. That's a big month for us. Of that, $17,621 goes to the EDC. As the mayor alluded to, we had a big, huge week for the EDC and Chamber with the How Business Summit and a lot of things going on. Founders Day and Hall of Honor. The website has been updated to be more professional, user-friendly. I'm getting a lot of feedback, positive feedback from that. Matter of fact, today I spent a large portion of the morning updating all of our forms and permits with the new logos on them. All-American Dogs,
He's not here anymore. We don't have to talk about it.
Can I skip those each month now? So I didn't, he mentioned something about moving to Ardmore or something, and I said, I think they have to get All-American Dogs from Pilot Point to service that area. They picked up some deceased kitties and things like that. 2 puppies contained at a certain address. So they are active. Matter of fact, they were way more active this past month than in previous months. It's not that they're not active. I mean, just the situation that when they get here, it's usually the animals are gone. It's just unfortunate that we don't have someone else local that we can look at for that. Utility billing, the total amount billed was $202,984 for the month, and that was for 1,314 accounts. There's a gallons bill that's in your packet. It just gives more detail about that. Now I'll give your financial report, as we have changed and done some creative things to try to draw more interest on our funds. Now that we have some funds, we did initiate that investment policy, which is in place now. I know our auditors will be happy about that. That's another thing. We did complete our audit, and you'll hear our audit report tonight. So that's a monkey off our back. So after recently investing funds in Logic and Techstar and those governmental pools, we've had great success, much better return of interest on our funds since making that transition. Prior to the change in the investment policy, we were averaging approximately about $2,000 a month on our EDC accounts. For the month of May, we collected $10,473.56 in interest in the same funds. That's not on EDC accounts, that's on all accounts. EDC has also made a significant improvement from $250 to $1,000 for the month of April. A significant thing that showed out to me on this one report is that for the year, we have drawn 20,000 in interest on our combined accounts, and 10 of that came last month. So that's a pretty significant improvement on just our philosophy on where we're investing our funds. Any questions on that long report?
I
Yes.
have got a couple comments. So the investment came on the heels of you attending that public funding
PFIA.
class, yes, with TML. So I just want to point that out. So thankful that Monty is doing a good job and working towards educating himself, so to help the city of Howe. Also, mention the website. If you haven't been to the website, it's totally awesome. Thanks to Monty, he's done a lot of work on that. Originally, I had asked him, I said, wouldn't it be nice to put all of the ordinances online? And he was like, holy cow, do you know how long that's going to take? And then we lost internet one day.
So I didn't have anything to do since the internet was down, so I scanned 4,474 ordinances dating back to 2015, which are all now on the website.
So I'm thankful for an internet outage. And also, All-American Dogs, I wanted just to bring that up. And I thought about Michael Hill when I was going to have this discussion. So Judge Dawsey, the county judge, he's been very good about having mayor roundtable meetings, and he was asking us if we had any suggestions for topics, and we were all talking about the All-American Dogs and the issues that we have, and other cities have similar issues. So we are going to be discussing that to see if there is anything that the county can do to help us come up with another solution.
One other thing I want to mention is that, I don't know if y'all remember, the city was granted $867,000 of ARPA funds back in the COVID era. Those are revenue replacement funds. Well, of course, we've expended those because we had so many well issues last year and we had some funds remaining, so we did expend those funds. But the reporting of those funds, I was not aware of anything that had to be done because I was not getting emails. All the emails were going to the former city administrator, and I had no knowledge of the reporting that needed to be done. Well, we had initially missed our deadline until they finally got a hold of me and told me that we missed our deadline, and we were under threat of losing and having to return those funds. Well, got on the ball and we figured it out, and I think, what was it, Sunday night, Mayor? That I finally was, I don't know how many phone calls I made to the Treasury Department, but we finally got it done, submitted, so we will not have to return any funds to the federal government. So I'm happy about that.
Which is
and
good
I'm sure
news.
you are too.
Any questions or comments from the council? All right, thank you, sir. Moving on to action items. Number 1, discuss, consider, and act upon nominee for Mayor Pro Tem. Does the council wish to discuss this item? If not, do we have a nominee in the form of a motion?
Make a motion just to keep Billy Ingram as the mayor pro tem.
Okay, Ricky makes a motion to keep Billy Ingram as Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Sean is going to make a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None are opposed, so motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm going to go on vacation now. Item number 2, discuss, consider, and act upon 2021-2022 audit from Vale and Park PC. And we have Sophie here who is going to give her report.
You mean I've spent 20 minutes reading from this little screen and you have a handout?
I'm sorry.
I'm talking to him, not you. You're fine. Thank you.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Sophie Packard. I'm an audit manager for Valen Park CPAs, and we conducted your fiscal year 2022 audit for the City of Howe, and that's what I'll be presenting and talking about. Just to give you a little bit of a background on what you have in front of you, the bound report is your audited financial statements, and there should be a letter in the front cover. Those are the communications to governance, you all, that we issued in association with this year's audit. So those are just a detail of our audit adjustments, our past adjustments, our recommendations, and our findings. And we'll discuss those in a little bit more depth here in just a second. I'd like to keep this conversational and informal. If you have a question, feel free to stop me. If you don't, we'll just keep going. And if you have any questions offline, we're always available at Valen Park to answer those. Now, bear in mind, we're talking about fiscal year 2022, so that's about 3 years back. So the period under this audit was 10/1/21 to 9/30/2022. So if I say prior year, I'm actually talking about 2021. We'll hope to get you guys caught up soon. But if you look at your audit report that you have in front of you that's bound, you'll see the audit report at the very beginning that just details what we were engaged to do. That's on pages 1 through 2. You'll see management's discussion and analysis immediately following, and that just discusses your balances in more depth. It lends a little bit more explanation to the reasons for increases or decreases, and it shows comparative information from fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 22, kind of in a summarized, succinct format. And then if you go to your government-wide financial statements, those are on pages 11 through 13. And those are prepared on the full accrual basis of accounting. And then immediately following those are your fund financial statements. So those are things like the general fund, HCFDC, and those are on pages 14 to 25. And then following those are your notes to the financial statements. Those are the explanations of those balances on the financial statements, and anything that we think is pertinent to the reader of the financial statements. And then following the notes is the required supplementary information. That's your budgetary comparison and your TMRS pension and OPEB tables. And then following that, at the very end, is the combining statements. So on page 65. Our objectives were to conduct an audit in accordance with general auditing standards. And to do that, we planned and performed our audit procedures to assure that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. So that's what we are opining on in your independent auditor's report at the very beginning. We conducted a full scope audit, meaning that we looked at your governmental activities, your business type activities, your fiduciary activities, your blended component unit, which is that HCFDC, and then each major fund. And then I want to point your attention to that independent auditor's report on page 1 through 2. That's an unmodified audit opinion. It's essentially a clean opinion, all standard language in that letter. So that's good news. Unmodified can sometimes be confusing, but that's all standard language, clean opinion. If you look at your full accrual financials, the net position of the city at the end of fiscal year 2022 was $2.4 million, roughly. Overall net position of the city increased by 1.15.
What page are you on?
You can look at 11 and 12 through 13, or the MD&A if you want a summary. That's sometimes the MD&A is the cheater on that. You can just look at it all next to each other. Your overall net position of the city increased by $1.152 million on page 12 through 13. This was largely due to increased UB revenue during the fiscal year, as well as property tax revenue increases and sales tax revenue increases. Your unrestricted net position of the city at the end of the fiscal year, this is essentially what's free to spend, was $359,337. That's on page 11 at 9/30/2022. Your current assets in the water fund were not able to cover the current liabilities. This has been an ongoing problem for the city of Howe for years, but I would like to point out it got significantly better from fiscal year 21 to 22, and that was due to the past due balances owed to City of Sherman. So, and as of 9/30/24, that's been resolved. So good news there. This is year 8 for your TMRS pension and OPEB reporting. Your TMRS had an estimated net pension asset at the end of the year of $377,679. That's on page 11. Your schedule of changes in net pension liability at the back in your required supplementary information shows that the city's pension fund is 114% funded as of the end of the year. So that's good news as well there. And then this is year 5 for your GASB 75 reporting. Your TMRS had an estimated OPEB liability of $84,293 at the end of fiscal year 22. Your general fund unassigned fund balances on pages 14 and 15. At fiscal year 22, that was $581,000. This was a slight decrease of $269,998 from fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 22. However, we say 3 to 6 months of reserves or your unassigned fund balance is optimal. This puts you all right at 3.8 months. So that's still within that 3 to 6 month range, no cause for concern. Your water and sewer fund unrestricted net position there on page 21. At the end of fiscal year 21, just a reminder, your net position was a negative $1.896 million. This year at the end of 22, it had improved to $468,008. So that's a significant improvement there. You have no reserves at year end, like we discussed, but that is an improvement, and that's the right direction that we'd like to see for the city of Howe. Your total net position of your water fund did increase overall by $1.3 million on page 22. If you look at that separately stapled letter in your front cover, those are just matters that we're required to communicate with you all. They're miscellaneous, basically asserting that we had no disagreements with management, we had no difficulties encountered in the audit. You'll see your audit adjustments. Those are on Exhibit A. Those are the adjustments that the city agreed to correct and that we wanted to communicate with you all. Exhibit B is uncorrected misstatements. These are basically just FYIs, things that we'd like to track and say, hey, next year it'd be great if you took a peek at these balances, but they weren't material to your financial statements as a whole. Exhibit C is a communication of material weakness and significant deficiency. And then Exhibit D is just our management recommendations. Those are just things that we noticed during the scope of the audit that we think could improve the city of Howe's operations. I did want to point out before I discuss the material weakness more, in fiscal year 21, we issued 3 material weaknesses. In fiscal year 22, we were able to resolve 2 of the 3 and only issue 1. So you'll see that material weakness 2022-001 was internal controls over financial reporting, that's on Exhibit C of that separately bound letter. We noted that the city did not have key financial policies, which Monty alluded to just now with the investment policy, so we're big fans of that. That shows immediate improvement. The city did not have key financial policies and procedures that include internal controls over financial reporting to ensure that all financial balances are properly reconciled and recorded in the general ledger. If you look at those adjustments, there are a number of them. Ideally, in the scope of an audit, we'd like to see audit adjustments of 10 or less. And I think this year the city of Howe had 27. And there was significant turnover in the finance department. There was turnover in financial consultants. I know there were staffing issues, so all of those contributed to this. We do recommend that the city develop and implement those policies and procedures, which it sounds like you are already doing. So that's a big win from our perspective, too. We did issue 1 significant deficiency. Just a reminder, in fiscal year 21, we issued 2, so that is still an improvement. We were able to resolve 1 significant deficiency and just issue 1 over the municipal court security and technology funds. We recommend that the city separately allocate those funds in a different fund and track those, just to make it easier to know the fund balance of that fund at any given time of those legally restricted funds. We recommend that you work with your consultant to do this in your accounting software, and they can create that fund that'll track it for you. We did note some recommendations and findings, and I always say that if we don't have any recommendations for the city, we haven't done our job. So if we spend so much time conducting a thorough audit, we want to make sure that we're comprehensive and we can give you our honest feedback of how to improve. And it sounds like the city has already taken it and run with it, and I'm really grateful for that. We did want to just recommend that the city amend their budget. If you'll notice on the general fund budgetary comparison, expenditures did exceed appropriations at the legal level of control, so just watch that moving forward. I know it was kind of difficult to get the cash accounts reconciled this year, given the turnover in consultants, turnover in the finance side, and we just recommend that the city reconcile those bank accounts monthly, review those outstanding items, keep them current, and if possible, have someone review and approve those reconciliations. We always like checks and balances, so anytime you can build that into a financial process especially, we're fans. We also recommend dual signatures on checks. That's just a really good control.
We do that.
Perfect. And I figured many of these things you've probably already resolved, so I'm excited about that. And I have to remind you, we're talking about years ago. So that makes me feel good. Capital assets, we recommend that the city review their depreciation schedule annually and ensure that all assets on the depreciation schedule are still in service. I know our fire chief helped clean up some old fire assets that were from the 80s, 90s. So if we can just make sure we're reviewing that and that the assets that we're reflecting in the general ledger match the assets that are actually in service, that's better for tracking. And then we also recommended that the city review water meter deposits and ensure that the general ledger matches the detail of the water meter deposits actually taken. And then we also had one payroll recommendation for the city to review the payroll allocation. And again, we're talking about 2022's year under audit. So many of these might be processes that are built in now. I would like to thank Monty and Michelle. You guys were a force to be reckoned with to audit years in the past, not having been in their role at that time. I can't imagine how difficult that must have been. So I really appreciate all of your hard work. And your CPA consultant, Eddie Peacock, was very helpful. But with that, I'll open it up to any questions if you have them.
I just have a quick question. Can Monty move the curtain over?
I'm sorry. I noticed some jiggling of the curtain. Are you being blinded?
It has nothing to do with the audit. Thank you.
I know. The audit just has that effect on us.
All of a sudden, the sun shifted.
That's funny.
I do not have any questions. Does council have any questions or comments?
Can I make a comment? I would like to thank Sophie for all of her hard work too. I know this has been a process. We've all been talking about this for several years. Sophie went away for a little bit. I cried for a little bit. Oh, no. She came back. I jumped up and down for a little bit. So I just want to say thank you. Yeah, thank you.
And I'm really hopeful that we can get fiscal year 23 closed and issue that one timely for you as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for all your hard work.
Of course.
We do appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to ordinance number 834, an ordinance annexing the hereinafter described territory of the city of Howe, Grayson County, Texas, and extending the boundary limits of said city so as to include said hereinafter described property within said city limits and granting to all the inhabitants of said property all the rights and privileges of other citizens and binding said inhabitants by all of the acts, ordinances, resolutions, and regulations of said city, and adopting a service plan providing for severability and providing an effective date, property GCAD, property ID 132234, G-0515, Haining JA-G0515, acres plus or minus 10.854, 2703, Highway 5, Howe, Texas, also fronts Old Patterson Road, Howe, Texas. We will now open this up for a public hearing, allowing members of the public to speak on ordinance number 834 if you should choose to do so. Do we have any members of the public that wish to speak? Since we do not, we will now close that public hearing. Number 3, discuss, consider, and act upon an ordinance number 834, annexation and adoption of service plan. Mr. Walker, did you have anything you want to say before we move on?
I know y'all probably heard this in the P&Z, but this is an annexation of property along Highway 5 and Old Patterson Road. This has been a process that's taken quite some time due to a number of factors, including our focusing on BVRT for quite some time. A lot of those things got pushed to the side. But Mr. Mondragon has been very, very patient, and I appreciate him for this. So, in short, he's got a house over there on Highway 5 to Old Patterson. He's got 2 properties on either side. He wants to annex also into the city of Howe. He wants to bring a commercial business of his into the city of Howe. So if this approves, we will then zone it next month is the intention. So he has signed the documents, and again, I mentioned this to the P&Z. We had to make a change this morning on the owners' names. The only change to the document that was in your packet are the owners are Luzalina Juarez and Luis Mondragon. Mr. Mondragon officially changed his name, and I've got a copy of his ID on my desk if y'all need it. But I would recommend approval on this.
So council have any questions? And if not, do we have a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Billy makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
That was Ricky?
Yes.
That makes a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None are opposed. Motion passes. Number 4, discuss, consider, and act upon final plat for Grace Meadows. Does the council need to hear Monty? Or did you, I didn't know if anyone heard anything during the P&Z meeting?
The only thing that I didn't mention to the P&Z, which I should have, is that the engineer has approved the plat.
Okay. So does the council wish to discuss this item? If not, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the final plat.
Sarah makes a motion to approve the final plat. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Sean is making a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None are opposed. Motion passes. Resolution 2025-0006, a resolution of the City of Howe, Texas, adopting a public improvement district policy and providing an effective date. 5, discuss, consider, and act upon Resolution 2025-0006, public improvement district policy.
Mayor, council, as the legislature has continued to strip away powers from municipalities over the last several sessions, it's forced us into being preemptive in our policy making when it comes to financing mechanisms and annexations. We felt that it was time, it may be past time, but at least it is time now to initiate a public improvement district policy, as we'll be requested to participate in a number of these over the next coming years. I think now is the time to initiate this. This was structured, it's very similar to Anna's policy. I view this as a starting point when we're talking about PIDs with these developers, and that's a financing mechanism, much like a MUD. There is wiggle room for the council in this PID policy. So if there is something you want to negotiate, you have that right to do so within this policy. It is not a hard stance. That's good for the developers. It's good for you. It's good for city staff and ultimately our citizens in the end. So flexibility is always good when you're negotiating. We have been on weekly phone conferences or Zoom conferences with our PID policy attorneys, and we all agreed that it was time to implement this and get ahead of the curve, so to speak. So that's why we took the initiative to put this together. And again, I want to thank Tim and our internal staff for reviewing this and making corrections and red lines and all the things that are done. So we as a staff would recommend the PID policy.
Does the council wish to discuss this any further? If not, do I have a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Sean makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Billy makes a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None are opposed. Motion passes. Executive session. The City Council will convene in closed session pursuant to the provisions of the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, Texas Government Code. Executive session is as authorized by the Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, consultation with an attorney on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter. Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Section 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, personnel matters. Personnel matters, subjects, topics, discussions would be personnel annual review, city secretary, fire chief, police chief, city administrator. The council will now go into executive session, and the time is 7:27 p.m.
You are welcome to stay, but there's not much going on after this.
I know.
There's no reason to say it, guys. Stud. Y'all can keep those if you want them.
You got a digital copy?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's visit some more. I'll get the temperature of the council, which will be favorable. I mean, they're not spending anything. Next piece for me, if you guys have the franchise agreement document. If y'all have one that you've done previously, but if you don't, I have one on file. Yeah. Okay. We'll get some together.
All ready for you.
51 half-acre lots. They've got room to grow another 50, 60 inside.
No. If I do, I'll have you do it later. I am trying to do the little bit of accounts payable that I have left to have it ready by Friday. So.
We are now returning to open session, and the time is 7:49 p.m. If there's no action will be taken. If there's no further business to come before this council, this meeting stands adjourned at 7:50 p.m. Thank you and have a good night.